Hello, everyone. Welcome to Alphawisdom. I'm Mystic Cassandria, and we're into 172. Today and all of this week, we will be talking about fingernails. You will begin to see the importance of the nail, and it's a lot to cover, so we will now get started. If you find you like this video, please remember to give a thumbs up, share, and of course, subscribe if you haven't already. Welcome to the new subscribers. Glad to have you here. Okay, as you see on the screen, as you digest this a little information about the nails that you probably have been taking for granted. Just as we pick up and manipulate objects with our fingers, nails are our tools to scratch away at objects, to pick at or clean things. When we are nervously awaiting news or are anxious about an outcome, we bite or pick our nails. Thus, nails are, in effect, indicators of how we assess, analyze, pick at, and take apart situations. So, we do these things, don't think about it, it's just a habit. So on your screen, you can see that the nails register upsets, shocks, and other traumas. Nails on healthy adult hands take between 4 and 6 months to grow from the cuticle to the tip. Any sort of physical or emotional trauma that occurred 3 months ago would appear as a slight ridge dip about halfway up the nail from the cuticle. Now, to get to know the names a little more, we're looking at what the nail types are. And the drawings are not perfect, I did them, but they're in reds to call your attention to them. Now, as you look at this, you see the little finger. It could be on any finger now, but I selected this. All right, this is narrow, okay? That's what it's called, narrow. Now, we don't count the fingernail. We count the part that's on the bed of the nail, this part. Your fingernails can be as long as you would like them to be, but this is the part that counts, okay? Now, here we have another shape. This is called the fan-shaped, because it does somehow resemble a fan, okay? And let's take a look at the broad. The bed is longer, more rectangle shape, and it sort of floats almost entirely across the fingernail area, okay? All right, now I have another one here. I didn't choose to draw it because it looks the same, only it is about halfway this size, and it's called short. This is broad, and when you see the same shape but shorter, it's called short. And then we have square. It resembles a square, okay? And the last one here is almond shape. Now, I want to point out that these shapes could appear on any finger. Because of this one hand, I wanted to include them all. You can have all broads, all fan shapes, all squares, or all narrow, so maybe almonds. So it depends on the person's finger or the person's bed, nail bed, to determine what that is. So you can have the variety or all in the same, okay? Now, let's go on and see what we have here. Let's learn something about these shapes. What do they indicate? And everything on the hand indicates something. So we're going to look at the narrow first. Look at what it says, and then I'll give you a little more information. Narrow and fan-shaped nails. They're basically the same as far as their meaning. These two types revealed single-mindedness. single-mindedness. Okay? Their approach is often to assess matters and people in a narrow-minded and conservative fashion. They may be willing, or they may not be willing to take on board new ideas or situations. At worst, they can pigeonhole people from past observations or prejudice in one fell swoop. If they see these nails, they have a tendency to pigeonhole people based on what has happened to them, what kind of experiences they've had in the past. And maybe they've developed some type of prejudice or biasness. And they immediately judge. Okay? So that's narrow. So when you see narrow, that's the person is somewhat narrow-mindedness. Okay? Now, that applies to this one too. Now, let's take a look at the broad nails and see what it has here. They show broad-mindedness and openness to new experience, the total opposite of these two. Okay? All right. When making assessments, they leave the door open for change, improvement, and our fallibility, in their own fallibility. At times, they need to be more discriminating and show better judgment. When their nails are naturally short and broad, they add a dynamic, sometimes aggressive thrust to proceedings, relying on impulsive assessments rather than listening to reason. So I want to make that clear again. We're talking about this type as well as this type. The characters are basically the same. However, if the nail is short, and of course they will be broad-shaped, this adds a dynamic, sometimes aggressive thrust to proceedings, relying on impulsive assessments rather than listening to reason. They tend to jump at things. Impulse, rather than sitting back and hearing the whole story, hearing what's going on. They just jump at it. Okay? So that would be the broad. Broad is open, period. This one, half open, a little more subjective in their opinions. Let's go on to the square nails. On your sheet it says, this type reveals an orderly approach to ideas and people. Okay? We consider matters carefully in a methodical manner. That's the square hand, methodical. At worst, they may forget to allow for differences and exceptions to the rule and allow dogmatism into their assessments. Are we clear on that? They consider the matters carefully following a particular method. And when they're at their worst, the worst side of it, they forget to allow for differences and exceptions to the rule. Everything is not always the same. And unfortunately, they allow dogmatism into their assessments. Okay? Let's go on to the almond-shaped nails. Let's look at what they say. I'll come back to short nails. Well, let's do short nails now. This type shows we are quick to judge people and situations. I've already told you about that one. Okay? But I'll give you a little more. They lack patience and tire easily of those who don't live up to their expectations or conform to their rigid moral standards. At worst, they can jump to conclusions, enjoy playing devil's advocate, or use strong criticism to tear apart new ideas. So if you are broad like this and you are half broad and short, it's like the opposite of that. Some characteristics, but it's the other side of it. Unfortunate, and maybe it is fortunate. I don't know. All right, almond shape. We go with the last one. Almond-shaped nails. This type points to an insular, that means narrow, approach to new ideas. Sometimes basing assessments on their own limited, often materialistic frame of reference. Their analytical abilities need to be sharpened, and they would benefit from a greater sense of discernment. Okay? That's saying they should try not to be that way. Try to be more open. Try to be more open in their analysis. Okay? So maybe some of these, if you have been noticing and then you look at your fingers, perhaps you've thought about, you remember fingers you've seen like that. Well, just you may have to see this video again so that you really digest that. Okay, we've come to the end. We'll continue on our next video, still covering the nails. Well, hope you understood the video and you're clear on it. So take care, and until next time, be happy. Bye.